Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry. With me, as always, is
You calling me old? Why would you call me old? I'm giving you shit. Eddie of Edward is Truth.
today. We're talking about weapons. Weapons.
Weapons?
Weapons.
We're from New Zealand now. Now.
Nice.
I can't even do
Now.
it. I'm sorry. I apologize to anyone in New Zealand who's watching this.
I don't.
Weapons.
Released August 8th, 2025. New release, obviously.
Yeah.
This has kind of taken the world by storm.
Well,
Yeah.
an aspect of it certainly has. Like everybody's running with their arms out now, which I find amusing. Have you seen this?
I've never seen anyone run like that before. But there
Unless
was
they're
a
crossing a finish line.
yeah. It's a I guess the reasoning for it, or just like as Zack Cregger's the writer director, is just like I guess it's the way children run, or he's seen children run like that.
I mean, also it is just a little off kilter. There's something, uh, there's a freedom, or I guess like a visual cue of freedom. It inspires
Mm.
a feeling of freedom, but it also makes you wonder because they seem like they're not in control. So there's a relinquishing of control. So it makes it feel like there's somebody else in the driver's seat, which, as we
Well, like
discussed,
marionette puppets,
yeah,
like yeah.
or like Hot Wheels that you like. You ever like get a Hot Wheel that you run back, the wheels back, and then it just takes off
I'm
on its own?
perhaps like 30 years ago.
Oh man.
I don't remember stuff back then,
See,
but yeah.
this is why there's an age gap. Zach likes to pretend I'm not that much older than him, but I am. I really am. No, but yeah, the it's taken off. I'm seeing drag queens do it, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
In
Are
reels
you,
and
do you
stuff.
want to just like go, I haven't seen anyone go out and just like inspired by the movie start running with their arms spread out like
Oh,
that.
just like
It's
in
almost,
life?
it's almost like a, yeah, like there's something almost like avian-esque about it. Like it's just like bird, like the poster of the movie. They're like in this V formation. Their arms are out like an upside down V. Like they're almost birds soaring.
Avion. I only know the water.
Avian. Is that
Evian.
not?
What is the movie? I don't know this film of which you speak.
I'm not speaking of a film.
Then what is Avion?
Isn't that
What?
like bird-esque? It's like to
Oh,
do, yeah.
aviary,
God, now I have to
aviation,
like do a
avi. Why don't you just say they're taking flight? That sounds poetic, and I know
avian
what it means.
meaning
I I know Bob Avion. I think
I
it's avian is how you
avian
say it. He
avian any
works
machine that
on
flies,
Broadway
such as an
musicals from the
airplane. Yeah.
90s. No.
Um,
Okay.
avian.
Aviary.
Does avian mean bird? The word avian in French directly translates to airplane or aircraft in English, deriving from the Latin avis, meaning bird. Okay. See, when you do that, you make me think for a second, like, did I just like talk out my ass and make some shit up? But
No, but it's just
no.
your French Canadian influence. I don't have
My
that.
my French Canadian.
Yeah, I have
Yeah. I
Spanish
don't have
American. I
any.
have
I don't
Mexican
have.
American. Yeah.
I don't have French Canadian. I flunked because they make you take it
Yes,
in elementary school, and I just like I wouldn't.
I know.
I couldn't. I couldn't.
You have told the story
Yeah.
before.
Well, for any new viewers or listeners, I
So
not
it's
wasn't gonna.
Avion, is what you're saying.
I have no idea. Did you know that Evian, though, the bottled water spelled backwards is naive?
Naive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was in a movie also. That was
Which
in
one?
Reality Bites. They're all
Oh.
stoned and they're in a gas station just buying stuff. And Janine Garofalo grabs a bottle of Evian and says what you just said,
Yeah.
verbatim. Yeah.
And Winona Ryder, doesn't she say Melrose Place is a really good show?
That's later when Janine
Yeah.
Garofalo's character thinks that she's got AIDS and she doesn't. But
Everyone's got AIDS and shit.
Well, because she's imagining her. Sorry, just a little segue, guys.
Yeah,
She's imagining her funeral. Only it's
yeah.
going to be like one of those really lame funerals, like on Melrose Place, where everybody's showing up in their halter tops, but in black, you know.
Hmm.
And it's just
Yeah.
like a photo op, more of a photo op, and a way to like make it about them than about her. So she's going to die
Like
completely
the
alone.
in Valentine when they go to Katherine Heigl's funeral and remembers
Yeah.
Denise Richards like takes off the thing and it's
Uh-huh.
like Jesus Page, this is a funeral.
The mourning is
Yeah.
over. The mourning is over.
Good morning. So you did the thing that you do, the thing that is you'll see a movie
Yeah.
and you take to Instagram,
Mhm.
obnoxiously so. And I'm just kidding.
I like to
Or
create
am I?
mystery.
And you'll in your stories post a picture of the film in question, the
Yeah. The
film,
poster, the
which
poster.
which in this case is weapons,
Yeah.
and you will just put as a caption, "Wow."
Yeah. Just saw, and
And
then the title, and say, wow.
but then everyone is like, you're, creating this mystique. Like, what does he mean? Like, is that a good wow? Is it like an Owen Wilson, like, wow?
Yeah.
Or
Or
is
is it
it,
wow? Or is it
well, that's a good wow too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Or what? Or like wow.
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 Yeah.
Wow. When your mouth goes real big and you've got
Yeah.
your three fingers on either side of your face to spell out wow.
Mhm.
So you want to know whether it was a good or a
I
bad?
want to know let's just cards on the table,
Cards
Edward.
on the table. I dug it. I had a good time with this film. I don't.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard after the first viewing, among all the hype and everything like that. Like, I will say I dug it. I want to see it again because you really truly haven't experienced a film until you watch it, knowing every twist and turn. Because
Mm.
when you do, then you know whether it's a good movie or not. Because if everything was just based on your not knowing what's around the corner, and that's why it was such a thrilling ride, then it's not a good movie in my opinion, ultimately. Like if you can
Yeah.
know everything and every time you watch it, get something new or at least get on the ride and enjoy it again, then I call that a pretty damn well made movie. I'm optimistic about my future with this film, but yeah, how about you?
I'm just looking at the comments in our live stream.
Hmm.
Greg Pendergrast, this movie is dumb. I don't know if he means that or he's just quoting your Freddy versus Jason story, but
My
they,
blockbuster girl,
but
yeah.
yeah, like everyone who's on the live stream right now as we're recording this, who are all Patreon supporters, more on that
Yeah.
in a bit, but let us know how you felt about weapons. I mean, I'm pretty, I mean, like average. Like here's the thing. It's like it was neither good nor bad to me. So like I couldn't possibly like make a post like you that was like wow, because I'm like the opposite of that. Like there's nothing I'm nothing is astonishing about this movie
Oh,
to
I mean,
me.
it could also just be a wow. Like an anti,
Wow.
yeah,
No,
like just
for me it would be more like wow. Like he's
just
just
trailing off.
it's like that's nice, dear. Like if I
Mm.
had kids and they like did one of those stupid like,
Wow, you
look
made a
what I can do and like
movie.
jump up
Right.
and like clap their
Like
hands like,
Stewart.
yeah, I'd just be like, "Wow, honey, that's really good." Okay, now that's just being bitchy. I mean, this so Zach Cregger's, I mean, awesome first name. Although I think he
Mm.
spells it with an H, but
Oh God. Keep going.
we
Just
gotta
keep
gotta
going.
stand with my Z brothers.
As far as the name is
Zebra,
concerned,
zebra. There
but
it
your
is. Yeah.
fellow filmmakers, that's another story.
The
Go
the
on.
he did Barbarian,
Yes, he
and
did.
I had some opinions on Barbarian. I think
Mm.
ultimately I have I mean, it's similar to Barbarian. Like I have a very mixed, but like more leaning to the positive end of the spectrum with that, because I do find that at least the second time I watched it, because I've only seen it twice, that, I really enjoy the first half of that movie.
Right.
I think Barbarian is a better movie than Weapons. I much
Mm,
prefer it. The thing that I've kind of noticed, just sort of like, I guess, like his shtick,
hmm
if you will, is that he kind of reveals the thing halfway through. It's just like the big mystery is resolved more or less in the middle of the movie, and then it's just like shit spirals in the second half. And I feel like what I liked about Barbarian is that there was like it's creepy in the first half. Like there's this tension that just like really builds up even to like the reveal that happens. Here I don't think it's scary. There wasn't
mm,
really anything tense about it to me. And I think that like as soon as like the reveal happened, which in this case was like more of like, okay, we know where the kids are. Everything kind of fell into place for me. Like I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. And
mm.
everything that happened after that was just like there was no new discoveries that really kind of like made me go, wow. So it's, and I have like other notes about it as well. But I mean, I think I would never tell anyone don't see this movie. I'm glad that I saw it. I think
Mm,
that it just for me, it's very hard to reconcile with like the hype of something because it does feel like there's a lot of hype about this movie
mhm.
at the moment, and you know me, I'm just like I'm usually never on the same page as the audience, and that's fun. I love that. I don't want to agree with the masses. I
Sure.
like to have my own take on it. Like sometimes, something will come out that is just beloved by everyone, myself included. I haven't seen one of those movies in a while, but with this, I mean, I try not to allow the hype of something to color my experience. Like it's like,
Mm.
I don't do that anymore. Like I don't get my hopes up for something
No,
based
no.
on critical or audience reactions. Like I pretty much go in with a pretty open mind and just be like, okay, whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna be.
hmm
But it didn't satisfy me on a level of like what I look for in a movie. I think that, it's also, and people have been saying this, it's more of a comedy. I wouldn't say that it's more of a comedy. There's a lot of comedy elements to it. Like,
Yeah.
um, I mean, I'd say it's more of like a mystery thriller,
Uh,
if you had to go down a genre route.
hmm
But even then, like I think that where it might have been more successful than anything was like in its comedic beats, but even then it wasn't really delivering for me what I would want for comedy. So
mm.
I'm still processing this. I'll probably see it again, but I don't think that it's going to change for me. Like I don't think that I'm going to have a different reaction. And I mean, at this point, like if I ever do turn around on a movie, whether it's like for the good or the bad, it's usually like years, like like a decade or
Yeah.
more later. Because there's like movies now. We mentioned Valentine, which I hated when it came out, and I love that fucking movie now.
Yeah.
So and people are listening to this like you like Valentine, but you didn't like Weapon. I mean, they're so like they're not even in the same ballpark, but
No,
they're
they're
just like
not.
shows what this guy's taste in movies is. So
And the
yeah,
answer is yes, and that's nothing to look down your nose at. It's just okay,
yeah.
it's just not it doesn't scratch an itch for you. That's I think a big thing about what worked for me about it. It's interesting to because before I go into that, just you mentioning comedy, I didn't feel like any of the laughs in the movie, at least in my experience with my audience, were I didn't feel like the laughs were built in, like, oh, now we get the boom. It felt more like the audience was laughing kind of in spite of ourselves, like, and it weren't like big gung ho ha laughs until we all did kind of lose it, I have to say, at the climactic final battle, shall we say?
Ridiculous. Yeah.
No, but I mean, it wasn't even out of, for me, it wasn't out of ridiculousness. It was just kind of out of like a sense of inner justice, like, like
Mm.
kind of feeling like, I'm craving uh justice in this realm of consciousness, and on this level of reality that we exist on the
Yeah,
daily, and that's as much as I'll say about that. So watching a
yeah.
movie where somebody does something heinous and kind of gets like what feels like a fitting comeuppance really just infused me with joy, had me applauding and cheering like I was watching sports.
All right.
The way most people watch sports, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, like the comedy, like I don't like when things try to be intentionally comedic. I find the comedy in it's almost like the performances, or there's like little nuances of just like they're not necessarily supposed to be. It could be like a line delivery, or
Mhm.
the like a quote from a movie itself. Greg is just wrote in the comments, "Hey jerk, speed kills," which to me is like that from Halloween. That is always going to be hilarious to me.
Hmm.
Every time I hear that, that is comedy to me. But I know, like I was reading just things that Zach Cregger was saying about the production of the movie, and I guess that they did test screenings, and there were extra scenes where he had jokes and they weren't landing with the audience, so he cut them out. Like there's just like these, whether it's just like a
Oh,
scene or a line or whatever, and it's like, okay, so you were so it seems like it was intentionally trying to go a more comedic route, but it's like if there's scenes that are being created or moments that are just strictly there to get a laugh out of people and they can easily be excised, it's like why even bother with those in the first place? Unless
okay.
you're committing to like making a comedy movie here.
Mm. I
Um,
mean, I, but again, it didn't feel like anything that I could criticize in the moment. It just kind of felt like the way things were going. Because when life happens, it's like, and sometimes you can laugh in spite of yourself. Sometimes, no matter how dire your situation seems, there's something because it's not directly happening to you. Sorry, there is a mosquito like buzzing around my
yeah.
head. There's because it's not happening to you. There's a little room, there's a little safety, a little barrier, so you can just kind of like chuckle at it and remind yourself you're watching a movie.
Yeah.
But the other itch that got scratched for me really early on, where I was just kind of like, I'm a fan of what's happening here, was just kind of like I mean, you talk about like the way the layering of the creepiness and everything like that in Barbarian worked for you. For me, and I need to rewatch that movie too, but for me with this one, the layering of the creepiness keyed into some things that are very, very simply creepy for me, just innately, like being alone at night and just the anxiety of other people who could potentially mean you harm. So every time you're passing someone on the street or you see someone walking past your house or like I mean
Hmm.
they're just wondering like, am I okay? Do they mean me harm? If I go behind my door, am I safe? And yeah, all
Just
of
like, do you ever
that.
like just like step out into the world and then just like think like I must there at some point in your life you've probably like been in close proximity or walked by a serial killer
Yeah.
or something like that.
Or not
Or
even
you're
not even a
or
serial
you're
killer, but a sociopath, certainly. Statistically,
well, there's
we all have.
sociopaths all over the place, but like,
Yeah.
like even like just flipping through Tinder, like maybe someone was a really bad person.
Right, right.
I don't know, you made me think of that. But just to read some of the opinions
Yeah.
of our Patreon Loive joined us here.
Loive.
Loive, Garrison Nichols. I don't want to pay for another nap. Um,
Oh!
I guess in regard to a repeat viewing. Amethyst
Woo!
Frost, it was meh. I actually preferred Barbarian, and I
Okay.
don't say that lightly because I had issues with Barbarian too.
Mm, mm,
Sarah Campbell, I wanted to like it, but for me it was 2 out of 5. Good moments, but very overhyped.
mm.
Bozzolini, Weapons was a B for me.
Okay.
Adrian Phillips, 3 to 3.5 out of 5. Stylistically, 4.5. Story, 2.5.
Mm.
Garrison, I feel the same for this as I did for Long Legs. We haven't talked about Long
Oh,
Legs.
No, I that's another one I need to rewatch because that one I literally did fall asleep in 7 times. So,
Ooh.
and
Uh,
that's not me ragging on the movie, but what happened? So
yeah.
anyway, go on.
Taylor McCampbell Navarro. I loved it.
Okay.
Adrian says all the cinematography with Justine practically flawless. I will say, like, there were things
Mm,
in Barbarian that I know, like cinematography wise, that I did like.
yeah.
I think that this movie visually is great. Like it's
Hmm.
especially compared to like it has color. And I always say that. It's just like, does the movie have color? Can I see it? Is it well lit?
Don't give me
Like
another
it's
washed out,
yeah.
gritty bit of realism, of quote
Don't give
unquote alleged realism. Yeah.
don't give me I'll always know what you did last summer. Um I still can't believe we covered that one.
Yeah.
Uh, Greg, I like weapons more. I fell asleep during the second half of Barb. So we're just calling it
What?
Barb. Barb. The scariest part of the movie was when James saw Agnes in the forest.
Mm,
Gladys.
Gladys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gladys.
Gladys Wayman.
Get your shit right, Adrian. Come on.
Agnes was in another movie.
Agnes.
Agnes.
Yeah, don't tell Agnes. What is it? It's Black Christmas, right?
Don't tell her what we did. Agnes. Agnes.
Yeah.
Pretty big cunt.
Oh gosh. You're gonna get us demonetized.
Oh,
The movie will falter the more you watch it, a la Max Maxine. We were just
oh.
talking about Maxine. Was it
Yeah.
before we started recording?
I don't know.
Maybe we talked about it during the recording. I was like, yeah, no shit.
Right.
Um, Amethyst. I didn't get comedy from this at all. I would have liked it more if it were funny. Uh, Boz, I would say horror mystery, definitely not a comedy.
Okay.
Adrian,
Yeah,
the
I
comedy
wouldn't. I wouldn't.
exists whenever Zach Cregger didn't know how to employ logic or cause and effect between events.
Ooh.
Oof, that's definitely something that we can talk about. And Brianna, I have a tendency to dislike or steer away from things that have a lot of hype. Bad habit. Thought the movie was fine though. Had a good time. Um, anyway, yeah. So uh, thanks for all the I wish I could read more, but we gotta get into this. So before we, run through the synopsis and all that, I'll just do the usual. So thank you for choosing the cherry picker to listen to or watch. We appreciate you coming here and listening to our maniacal ramblings week in, week out. If you have been here for a while, or if you are new and want to give back a little bit to the podcast, you can head over to my Patreon account. That is patreon.com/Zachcherry, Zackcherry. And if you are supporting at the Freddy Krueger tier or higher, you can join us for these live stream recordings, like everybody who is in the chat right now. And on top of that, you will also get to nominate and vote for the episode, either movie or theme that you want us to cover in the last week of each month, which happens to be next week. So we do have a theme, which is going to be the top 10 best years of horror. And that got 26% of the vote. We had
Oh
fifty
my.
people vote on that.
I didn't know that was on the table. Wow. Top
Yeah.
10 years
Years
of horror, like
of
single
horror.
individual years.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're going to have a list, and I'm going to have a list, obviously,
I
because.
think that we should probably marry our list uh
All
together.
right.
Yeah, like
Uh,
if it has to be your five and my five, that would make sense. I think that would probably be easier. Whatever we figure. You know what? That's the thing. We make up the rules. You give us the tools and we make up the rules.
you wouldn't tell me the rules before the game started. Okay.
But I believe that was Eric's nomination. So
Wow.
thank you for that one. And yeah, that's what we will be doing next week, but I do want to thank my top tier Patreon supporters. So if you are a Michael or a Ghostface, you will get shouted out on this, which is one of the benefits. Ghostfaces can also join me for one-on-one video chats every month. There's lots of perks and benefits to check out. So, if you want to head over to Patreon, and you really want to be part of this community and are enjoying the podcast and want to give it back, head over there and check it out. So thank you to Michael Myers supporters, Kyle Beard, Ali Hamouche, Shane Allingham, Tim McKay. I talked to Tim today. Stephanie Starbright, Horror Slut 95, Traj 125, Austin Hall, Michael Boswell. Thank you. And then Ghost Faces. Thank you to Eric Champney, Sam Levy, Daniel Saturn, Baby Ghoul, Garrison Nichols, and Craig Lynn. Thank you so much to all
Yay!
you guys. Love you all. Appreciate you.
Woohoo!
And yeah, do you got a premise for us you want
I
to
do.
delve
I
into?
mean, we've already been talking about the movie, so I don't know what, yeah, but here you go.
Yeah.
Um, it'll open up, actually, I think, a good like direction for us if we want to pick up
Yeah.
of my incorporation of the title. Here we go. When all but one child from one class mysteriously vanish overnight, the community left behind may turn on each other in pursuit of the truth, unless they can avoid becoming their own weapons.
Dun dun dun. Yeah.
Because I was thinking about the title while the movie was going on. I
Mhm.
thought about it like maybe 4 times, and not in a way where I just was bored and I had nothing else to do. I was just kind of thinking, oh yeah, like something would happen. I'd be like, because weapons, right?
Mhm.
But I mean, on a bunch of different levels. Like I just kind of thought about the way it seemed like other people, like I talked about my anxiety about other people being reinforced by this film, and thinking about the way people can be weaponized against each other just in their interactions, watching Archer kind of rallying and riling up,
Yeah.
all of the other parents at that, assembly or whatever it is that they, you want to call it, where they were talking to Justine and blaming her, like basically like scapegoating and making it all her fault somehow, just like burn the witch mentality. And
Mhm.
but then I thought like even watching her, the way she was dealing with it in the first stages of her reaction, I felt like, she's buying alcohol. She bought 2 bottles and carried them like they were her weapons. And then I started thinking about just even her own psyche, like the way the things that we tell ourselves inside our own deluded or misguided minds, uh, can also be weapons, just used against us to immobilize us. And then I love that that could exist while simultaneously I'd watch her trying to be proactive in a way that didn't seem to have much direction. Like even there wasn't even really like a clear goal beyond just wanting to know more. Like I'm not satisfied. I'm going to start following my soul student. I'm going to start, making all these questionable decisions. I wasn't sitting there going like, "Yeah, girl," because that's final girl energy. That's, there was some more ambiguity or ambiguity um, surrounding
Ambiguity.
it
Witty.
was much more like watching somebody just kind of like doing the best they can, and I wasn't 100% behind her decisions, but I also wasn't 100, I'm like wasn't 100% against them, because I wasn't like, well, what is she going to do? Just going to sit home and just kind of accept her fate and just wait until this all blows over and people don't hate her anymore. But girl, optics. If people see you following your soul student and they're all painting witch on the side of your fucking car, stay home. So I didn't have an answer, and then I couldn't really root for her until I think the end of the movie. Like I mean, with my heart and soul just kind of go like, yeah, get in there. That's where that all came in, was in the third act. I don't
Hmm.
know, what does that mean to you?
What is that? Well, I mean, the Justine as a character, um, on her own, I think that because this kind of like falls into like all of the characters for me. I feel like
Okay.
there are things that are there are storylines, there are things that are happening that almost like don't mean anything. They don't like her alcoholism is kind of like it's just irrelevant. It doesn't like you're talking about it like these things being weapons, and I just don't see how that ultimately kind of like paints a picture for her or says anything about what the movie is saying or trying to do. I like see it more of just like it's, okay, we're painting this picture of this woman who's kind of unlikable. I wasn't really behind her or, like on board with her at any point. I was more just like, okay, well, she's doing things that are not necessarily realistic. Like you said, it's just like it's frustrating, but she's making the movie move forward at least. But I find for the most part, like a lot of the characters, their motivations are very vague, and not defined in a way that is ultimately satisfying to me from like a narrative standpoint. I think that Archer is probably the character that I enjoyed following the most
Mm.
because we know what his motivation is. It's to find his son, and he's going about it in exactly the way that I would imagine in this scenario. These kids are have mysteriously disappeared. He has the ring cam footage of his son running away like this. He's like looking at where directionally like he's going. There's this radio tower. He's looking at the maps, going to neighbors' houses, putting them in uncomfortable positions to get information. Like that feels real to me. There's something palpable about that. It's just like this is human. This is actually I'm seeing a real person react in a way to a very bizarre situation. Whereas like a lot of the other characters and their storylines that are, either directly related to what's going on or like completely irrelevant, it's just like these aren't like this is just sort of flavor, but it's all a lot of sensationalism too. And I think that, my biggest takeaway from the movie is that it's kind of just sensationalism, which is kind of a little bit of what I felt with Barbarian as well, where it's
Mm.
just like we're going to do something crazy and it's not necessarily going to make sense or really have anything to do with what came before it or what happens next, but this is just sort of like feeding into this need that audiences want of just like some crazy shit happening. And I think that that's great. I think that crazy shit has to happen in movies, but I would prefer if crazy shit happened in movies in a way where it could be successfully set up and paid off in a way. And I think that
Mm.
with weapons, this is a very simplistic story. When you think about it, just like step away from it and just sort of like this
Sure.
idea of like this witch who, like kidnaps all the children, like, gets
Hmm.
them. It's almost like the Pied Piper, or what's the
Pied
story?
Piper of Hamlin.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be
Lead,
again in optics only, but yeah.
yeah, leading all the children away from their homes and whatnot. And I guess like and I'll get to Gladys as well because I have issues with like that the motivation for her as well of just like how it's
Hmm.
presented. But it's a very simple story, but it's told in an overly complex way that didn't need to be as complex as it did. I don't see it needing to have been this like non-linear multiple character perspectives. If it was just the perspectives, I think that like Justine, Archer, and Alex,
Hmm.
young Alex, were the ones that like were ultimately the perspectives that gave us the most insight into the movie. But like for the cop, whose name I already forget, and
It was
the
Paul, right?
Paul
Yeah.
and the addict
James.
James,
James.
And like Marcus, their principal, I feel like,
Hmm.
it's just sort of like, why are we seeing them? Like, what, like there could have been like a chapter for Gladys, that probably would have answered questions a lot more satisfactory than the way that it was presented. So we're kind of like, we have this very simple story, and it's the fact that it's sort of like all topsy-turvy, and we're getting like one perspective, and then we're going back, and we're finding out things, and that's what I'm talking about, is like everything was very clear from a certain point. So every time we kept going back to these other perspectives, it just like, yeah, I mean, I kind of already knew that, or I already ascertained that information, but we're seeing it through like this whole storyline through this cop that ultimately doesn't really add anything to what the mystery is, or what the story is. So I think that maybe if they had just focused on specific characters while doing this, or had just told the movie in a linear way,
Hmm.
I think it might have worked a lot better. It just seemed like that the decision, the direction to do this storytelling this way was a key factor in everything, and it just sort of overtook the movie itself. It became more the movie than the actual story of what was in the movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it makes sense coming from you 100% because I I know because we've discussed movies
Yeah.
for about 5 years now. So I know I knew sitting watching this movie not to expect you to go like, "Oh my God, this is the best thing I've seen." And like, I mean, I would be really truly shocked if that were the
Yeah.
case. But so I mean, knowing what you prioritize and knowing like, inexorably being driven forward and about trimming the fat and things that you tend to refer to, you haven't done it yet, but
Hmm.
as filler and things like that, where sometimes for me work is like just kind of like a thematic pulse, or work for me is just a mood elevator, or or escalator, actually, just to kind of
Yeah.
coast me from like a one level of anxiety and just ratchet it up a little bit continually throughout the movie, which actually it did do for me. I wasn't so much focused on the linear storytelling of it, was because I agree with you. If you're in it for the mystery of it all, you're gonna solve it long before the climax. But that what I like about it, I guess, is the way occupying space and time with these characters, I start to absorb themes that seem to motivate Zack Cregger in terms of just like people at points of desperation and how much they're willing to do in service of what I guess their main priority that they may not even be conscious of. And I think because I think the way we get introduced to Justine, she's just this person. Like these are all people just doing their best, but she's just kind of like this teacher who shows up and tries to do her job to the best of her ability, and immediately something horrible happens, something unimaginable, and immediately she's targeted for it by a person who's probably the last person on earth that any of us would have expected, her included, to reconcile with, or not beyond reconcile, but like basically team up with and trust, to the point where when they turn to each other, when she and Archer uh finally, I'm trying to remember exactly when in the story it happens, but I just remember the acknowledge, oh, it's when they're in the hospital and they've just been kind of like beaten down, but they've escaped and they've gotten their wounds seen
Yeah.
to, tended to, and she's waiting for him in like the lobby area, and he just walks up to her and they stand up and they just kind of check in to make sure that they're okay. And then by the time they reach their way outside, she thanks him like intently for protecting her back at I think it was the gas station, right?
Yeah.
All of that happens at, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, I love that I didn't anticipate this scene happening in this movie. I would have expected, given the tone of it, the kind of bleakness of it, one of them was probably going to have to go. And maybe at the hand of the other. But the fact that there was this commonality, they were able to kind of realize there is a bigger problem beyond the politics of what just happened between us these past few days. We need to stop blaming each other, and we need to realize we're on the same page, we have the same priority, and we're both gonna we've both been driven forward before this alone. Now we finally have someone who shares our interest and shares our willingness to like put themselves on the
Yeah.
line to really find out what the fuck is going on. And I appreciated that because also you talked about Archer being the one who was the easiest for you to follow. I didn't experience that for a while. I was watching
A
him and
while.
oh, for a
Well,
while
yeah.
because literally, again, kind of like with Justine and her ill-advised choices early on, even in pursuit of the truth, I was kind of going like, "Girl, this is not good for you. This is not." Same thing with
Yeah.
him. I was sitting there going like, "Buddy, like." You're doing the conspiracy theory thing. You're drawing red lines on a map to try and find the intersectionality of a pattern that's going to make some sense, and you're out of your mind. And I am a slasher fan. I am the person who, when I see the young kids, take up that kind of determination to fight and and combat against this unknown thing, and the disbelievers, the ones who discourage them, are the enemy,
Mhm.
until they see it and realize it, and then they're willing to fight, or until they die, whatever.
Yeah.
um, I'm geared for that, and here I am watching someone in a horror movie doing something that I usually can get behind without question, and I'm going, dude, let it go. You're not the police. You're not going to find the truth. You're not going to, I am the naysayer. So finally, when the two of them are like throwing punches in poor little Alex's home and everything like that, I am again turned toe and just sitting there like jumping up and down in my chair going like, yeah, oh my god, just do whatever you can, and good, Alex has got the thing and you've got the thing. I enjoyed it so much more than I guess you did, but
Yeah. Sarah is saying there are movies where this kind of storytelling really makes sense and adds to the film, but it didn't work for me here. And
okay.
actually, this is interesting because I had a conversation with a friend about weapons, and he's just like, you just really don't, because he had mentioned like, hello, I watched Carrie the other day for the first time in years. I'm like, oh my God, love Carrie. And I was just like, also, Raising Cain from De
Mm,
Palma is a really good movie, but you have to watch the director's cut. And I was saying, and we covered Raising Cain, how in the theatrical cut it was told a non-linear way because Brian De Palma was afraid that if they had started the story with all of the Lolita Davidovich stuff,
mm.
which was very like it was slow, it was kind of like a red herring and was like more of like this romance, this affair thing until it
Sure.
revealed like the John Lithgow craziness of it all, that like it would bore audiences, like he would lose audiences before the interesting thing happened. So in the
Right, right,
theatrical
right.
version, he switched it and he put all the crazy John Lithgow stuff first, but it was like it didn't give you time to really like get absorb it or really understand it. So that happened first, and you're just left like, what is going on? And then in the middle of the movie is all the this slowed down, really dull affair stuff, and it just like
Hmm.
it completely ruins like that edit, like shifts everything. It shifts the tone, it shifts the pacing. So that's why it's just like this is a case where, and Brian De Palma realized this years and years later. Okay, I should have trusted my original instincts. This is not a movie that should be told in a non-linear fashion. It just needs to be straightforward from start to finish, and that makes the most sense. Like that is the way that this story goes. So yeah, my friend is telling me you just don't like non-linear movies, and I'm like that's not true at all because Pulp Fiction is one of my favorite like non-horror movies ever, and like that's a story where it works there because I mean it's not, these are separate stories that are all kind of like based around criminals, and I think it's Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And they're sort of related. Like the, characters show up in these storylines, and it's like it starts at the middle, and I think like begins, or like the middle point is like the ending, and then it goes to the beginning, or however it's structured.
Hmm.
So you get like John Travolta dies in like the middle of the movie, but then he's alive at the end. But it all works because it's just like it's that narrative is not connected with this one. So you can see all these different character perspectives. But with something like Weapons here, where everyone is connected by one narrative and you're breaking it up like that, it doesn't work as successfully for me. Like I need everything to either like flow in a way with there's fluidity in like understanding like one thing leading to another. And I look at this and like you could pluck out the Paul, the cop, and James, other than the fact that James is the one that like discovers the kids
Mhm.
in there in the first place. But I mean, like, everything that happens there is irrelevant because when Justine and Archer get together, it's literally like he just shows her this thing of like the two lines, and she's like, "That's Alex's house. Bingo." It's just like it's like, why didn't you just get together sooner? And we talked about this. It's funny because this was brought up in Barbarian about like issues with that I had with that, and I talked about Psycho and how in Psycho, the first hour of that movie, which is entirely a red herring, you have all the stuff like with Marion, and then she is killed, and then it becomes Norman's movie.
Mhm.
But the second half of the movie, it's not like everything from the first half just becomes irrelevant because Lila and Sam are now searching for Marion, and everything that they're doing is a cause and effect of what has happened in the Marion storyline in the first half. So I'm watching characters who are now like intertwined with this like Norman Bates and Arbogast and all like the characters in this town, and everything that's happened before is actually intentional and it's set up like a domino effect for things to happen and get to the point where they are at the end. Where I see a movie like Weapons, where it's just like we're spending our time with like the Pauls and the James, and things are happening, and it's revealing things, but ultimately it doesn't change the trajectory. It doesn't change the course of the movie
Mm.
because whatever was going to happen anyway. So it just sort of becomes filler. There's that word
There it is.
of just stuff that it's just like okay, and I kind of feel cheated. I feel like why did we need to do that? Because there were other things in this movie that were more intriguing to me that I feel weren't being touched upon that I wish we had used that valuable screen time to follow instead, rather than these characters who don't really matter in the long run.
I'm going to ask you about that in just a second. I just want to
Sure.
say it's interesting your point about Psycho because one of my favorite aspects of that movie is how irrelevant the money becomes.
Hmm.
Because here everybody suspects that like what's what's driving Marion to her secrecy or Norman to his secrecy about what he might have done with Marion or something like that has something to do with the money, like to the point where they even find $40,000 on a piece of paper in the toilet, and and there, and what does Lila say? She says, "Doesn't that prove?" That proves that Marion was here. And he says, there was never any question that she was here. She's like, well, doesn't that prove that he knew about the money? And he's just like, well, we got whatever she said, we want her to tell the same thing. So, I mean,
Hmm.
it's, again, there's something that didn't necessarily need to be there. I love that Joseph Stefano anticipated, like, there was never any doubt that she was here. That's not what you're here to prove. But the fact that like the money becomes an afterthought and that it gets dismissed in the final act, in the final speech where he says these were crimes of passion, not profit. It's one
But
of the
I,
things that
but,
makes me
but,
think,
but
yeah,
no, but the thing is, like, the money in Psycho is a MacGuffin. It's the thing that it's the inciting incident. It's the thing that gets her there, and they're following it. And ultimately, that's fine. It's like it's a red herring. It's the misdirection that they think it's about the money, and it's not. But it's still the vehicle that gets Marion from point A to point B, which is then takes Norman from point B to point C, and so on. So even though at the end of the day the money is irrelevant in Psycho, it still is the thing that sets everything into motion.
well,
Whereas like he,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, well, because that's the thing is like the because this movie seems to, like you said, have such an incredibly simple plot. I feel like what isn't filler for me is the getting to know these people and getting to feel that they are, dimensionalized and getting interested in seeing them in situations that are not necessarily inexorably driving the action forward, but just kind of
Mhm.
like letting me know who they are so I care about them. And that's for me what I think Paul is introduced as, because we're in a town where even the people who can see where Justine is coming from, like shit, I can't remember anyone's name. Marcus.
Marcus?
When
Yeah.
Marcus is sitting there, he's saying, I see where you're coming from and I understand it completely, but you've got to know that, the rest of the town isn't going to feel this way. You can't drive kids home, in your car. You can't do this and that. You have to understand that, the problems you had before you came here are going to follow you and that people are going to use them against you. And it's my job to see all of that and to communicate it to you because I know what a good teacher you are and I don't want to lose you, kind of thing. But even though he is on her side, he's not someone who she can confide in and who makes her feel less alone in all of what's going on. That's what Paul provides, is he's a sounding board for her. He's an opportunity, because there was something also that I loved about their banter, the fact that like I got to see a sliver of Justine that I hadn't experienced yet. I had seen an immobilized, silent woman who could barely speak and who was clutching at alcohol. All of a sudden, having this completely different attitude in her comings and goings with Paul. I mean, in the beginning, when they're just this exchange that they had in the bar, and she's just kind of giving him shit, and I was like, oh, I like seeing her this way. And then it's later seeing her get angry and push back in a way with him that she can't do with her boss, and to the point where then Paul covers his own thing again thematically for me about just kind of like a person pushed to desperation, acts in it mistakenly, makes a profound mistake, and basically spends the rest of the movie paying for it. And then finally, none of that matters because there's a worse fate waiting for him in this house that has nothing to do with morality. It has nothing to do with whether he would have been good at his job or bad at his job. And it has to do with also just kind of like offering an extra leg. There's an extra air of mystery. Like we already have Justine and Archer sitting there in the car watching Alex's house with the newspapers up and wondering about like what's going on inside there. They see the cop car parked outside, and then Paul just calmly walks out onto the front porch and just beckons them because they're not incognito anymore. They're in plain view. Whatever force has been driving the evil of this movie is in that house, and it's calling you. This is the siren. And I knew they couldn't not go in the house at that point because not only was it a cop, it was someone she knew. What the fuck is he doing in that house? We're going in. And it just, I don't know, it loaded the situation for me. It raised the stakes.
I just wanted to, because you touched upon it, like her in the bar. Did
Yeah.
you notice that the perspective was different when we saw that in Justine's scene versus Paul's?
Oh
Because
yeah.
when she's at the bar and it's like her segment, he comes in and he comes up to the bar. She doesn't like get
Right.
up or greet him in that way, but like in his version, his telling of the events,
She
she
full on
gets up
gets
and
up
she's
and
like all over him and like, no, come
yeah.
on, like sit down. And I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. I don't dislike it. I don't
Uh-huh.
like it. I would have to see it again because I'm of two minds. One, I appreciate the creativity of that. I appreciate the sort of
Hmm.
like, these are different characters and they all have their own way of seeing the events as like how they play out.
Sure,
But
sure,
on
sure.
the other hand, I also kind of like I don't like when a movie flat out lies to its audience. And I guess I'm not as miffed about it here. That's why I'm undecided because everything that happens in the bar is really irrelevant to like in the grand scheme of things. Like the
Okay.
relationship between them is not relevant to the the story that's happening, or just like with the horror, the horror with Aunt Gladys. So I'm not as annoyed by that. But typically when a movie lies to us in a way like that,
Mhm.
it does frustrate me. But what I wanted to, unless you had something to say about that.
All I will say is I took it as kind of like a literary motif.
Yeah.
Um, where I mean, even just like the fact that like these chapters in this movie start with like the names of these characters, there was something about it that felt incredibly like a book. Like the way you could probably convey it with like a little bit more depth, like in a narrative, like a first person narrative, where it switches to the POV of whichever person's name is the title of that particular chapter.
Yeah.
Where, and I've read books where that totally happens, where you read from one person's point of view what's going on, and it's just like, I knew he wasn't talking to me because he was ashamed, and because, he just he didn't think I could handle, what he was going through. And then you read his chapter, and it's just kind of like, I can't lose this bitch, and I don't know what to say to get her to make her go away, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And you're like, completely different pages. So
Yeah.
it didn't bother me at all. I actually was just kind of like, oh, I mean, it's funny because if you hadn't brought it up, I don't even know if I would have articulated that. But
Yeah.
it did occur to me while I was watching. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, because POV. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I
Yeah.
will say, just in terms of like the mystery here, because the movie starts off and the question that is posed is, where are the children? That is
Yeah.
that is the biggest question from the top of the film. And then that is answered. We know like, okay, we have our information. We know where they are. We're at the halfway point. So then I guess the question becomes like how? That's the next biggest question. We find that information out. That's
Yeah.
that's that's discovered.
Hmm.
And for me, and this is kind of like, I'm gonna bring it back to, Scream, because that's how it happens. But
Sure.
like, with the ghost face killers, with their reveal at the end, it's never, like the who it is never that important to me because it's like there's X number of characters in this movie. It's gonna be one of them. We know like we're watching the movie, we're playing out the scenarios in our head. If it's Billy, if it's Stu, if it's Randy, Tatum, like whoever, or any combination of them. But the most important factor is the why,
Hmm.
because that's the integral part. It could be anyone. The biggest mystery, the biggest shocker is when we find out why they did it. And I feel like in terms of this movie, of just sort of like, we find out the where, we find out the how of the just like the where do the children go, how are they taken, using this witchcraft. But the why, it's kind of murky for me. And I get that, like, on the surface, I feel like those questions are answered with Aunt Gladys.
Hmm.
It's a very Mother Gothel situation. That's
Hmm.
that's what I was getting. I was just thinking of Tangled,
Hmm.
with her and just like, finding this eternal youth. But when you think of Mother Gothel in
Hmm.
Tangled, I know, like, huge leap away from weapons. We're talking about Disney now.
Not really, but
Is
go ahead.
that
It's a fairy
is
tale.
that no, yeah, is that this is we understand her motivations. I see
Hmm.
a desperate woman who's like, she's willing to do anything to keep this to the point where she's being like a mother, like pretending to be a mother to Rapunzel, and like continuing on this farce for years and years and years, to harvest this like hair that is going to keep her youthful. And we don't it's there's always the excuse, it's scarier when you don't know. It's like, like what is left mysterious is always creepier than that. But I feel like
That's not true.
no, it's not true. And I think
No.
especially in the case of this movie, it isn't being presented as like less is more. I think this is
Right.
a case where more is more. And I needed more from Gladys. Like I get, like, we see, she's got longer hair. It's like growing by the end. She still looks sickly. Like she's just like she's
Yeah.
not, she hasn't like really recovered from what it is that she's is ailing her. There's this mystery surrounding her of like, is she even related to these people? Because it's just like the
Mm,
mother is just like apparently it's her aunt who she hasn't seen in 14 years or whatever. But it's just like,
right.
is she actually a relative of them, or did she just work her witchcraft to like insert herself into like the right family that she could pull this off with and whatever. So I feel that by the end, even though like we understand her plan, her scheme, and like where she's keeping them, how she was able to do it, and all this. I don't feel connected with her in a way where I can understand why she did it. And I mean, like, I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is a movie about witchcraft, which, like Suspiria is a movie about witches, and Suspiria is famously a movie that does not make any sense. It's dream logic, as Argento would say. And that's fine because that is what is presented to us from the get-go. It's just like this is not
Mhm.
a movie. If you're looking for logic, you're not going to get it here. This is a movie that demands answers. The characters in it are looking for answers, and we get this character in the end. And I feel like this is why we needed something from her. Like I just wanted to at least understand her motivation or feel connected to it in the way that, I did for Archer to know like why is he, desperately trying to find his kid that we don't have that with her. It's just like she's just this rando that showed up who's, intentionally causing malice, has no issue doing it, has a smile on her face while she's doing it. And she's the most interesting character of the movie. That's no knock against her. When she shows up, the movie becomes infinitely more interesting to me,
Mm.
but it's like it's lacking. I feel like the movie is not doing its due diligence in, it's setting up the mystery. But it's like it's answering the questions in the easiest way possible without really giving us what we needed, which was kind of, again, like going back to Barbarian, I felt was an issue with there. So by the end of it, even though I feel like everything is kind of like it's wrapped up in a bow, I don't think that it's nicely wrapped up in a bow. I feel that there's still a lot to be desired, and at the end of the film, that leaves me with an unfinished feeling, like there needed to be more.
So when you said that, the focus of the characters like Paul and James felt like beyond filler, but just kind of like a distraction from the characters who you would much rather be learning about, you would say that Gladys is one of those people.
I think we absolutely needed a Gladys chapter. If that
Mm.
was like the final chapter, even that would have been fun. I've heard musings that they want to do a prequel, which I mean, God, I think it's just like you've missed the mark for that, and
Yeah,
you know how I feel
no.
about prequels.
I mean,
Um,
who knows? Maybe it could be great. I hear prequel. I don't generally look forward to it. Pearl
yeah,
was the first.
yeah,
When I saw that trailer at the end of Maxine in the theaters, I was like, "What?" In it right now. Inject it into my veins right now. Just
yeah.
let us go to the bathroom. We'll come back. We'll watch Pearl. But I had to wait 6 months anyway, or something like that. No, okay, that's interesting because for me, I like that you brought up Tangled because I don't think that it's a rough analogy or comparison because for me, largely what this ended up becoming was kind of like a fairy tale for adults, like a contemporary grim fairy tale. And
Mhm.
because she's a character who seems to be assigned all of the technical faculties, physical tics, even the strangeness, the way she affects the air in the assumed village that she enters into. Like traditionally, she's checking all the boxes for the real witch, while another character has been earlier in the film kind of assigned that role, even labeled that by someone who she will team up with later. But the thing is, I liked sitting in her scenes. Number one, yeah, I agree with you. I think she's maybe the most unpredictable character in the entire movie because even when I knew, well, she's going to try and cast a spell, the how had me. I'm just going to like, how? Or like, I know how Marcus is going to end up. Why? Why is he going to Like, what is she going to do that's going to get him there? And then the violence in that kitchen with his husband, which is the headbutting on the floor. Oh my God, I was losing my mind. It was amazing. And she's just there closing jars and putting things in her purse and whatnot. But anyway, and getting ready to drop the thing in the water to stop the spell or whatever. Um, there was something about the fact, even though she did not have a Gladys chapter, the fact that she was another person in this realm, and I think a huge point of this is due to Amy Madigan's portrayal of Gladys. There was something about the way she was presented that, like I said, checked all the witch boxes, but also gave me a person that I felt like was just carrying on the theme that every other character that we've been spending time with is basically kind of doing their best. Her best is probably the worst, but doing their best to just kind of like keep their head above water and survive and whatever, however they define that, like whatever it is. And they can do unscrupulous things, some more than others, but there was something about the way she communicated with the boy and the abusive, dynamic that she clicked into right away with Alex that just made her, in a weird way, not a witch and just a destructive human being who had no qualms about manipulating other people and threatening other people just so she could come out not even victorious, but just moderately successful, just staying alive, not getting any sicker, not getting any older. Because even I loved this aspect of it, because Mother Gothel like has the moment with Rapunzel where she cuts the hair and she sees the hair dies if it's disconnected from the child. So I got to keep the child and everything. So she has like an answer in her head. She has something that's, driving her forward. There's the desperation behind Gladys in this movie. The fact that like she's at one point having an exchange with Alex where she thought his parents would help, absorbing them and everything like that. And it has, but not the way she thought. And he's just like, well, you got kids in your class, maybe bring me things for them and everything like that. He's like, and then you'll leave us alone. She's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But I love that there was this air of experimentation, that she wasn't quite adept at her witchcraft. She was just as lost as any one of us in terms of a way, like a means forward. She was just going to have to make it up as she went along. And I guess the unscrupulous quality is her lack of regard for other people and predominantly children. That's the thing that really made it like a fairy tale for me. The fact that there's like 17 children just standing, being fed in a basement by a little boy who was basically kind of like it's almost deemed like one of the weaker of the pack, and now he's responsible for helping them to
Hmm.
subsist. Barely. Like that's all they're doing is subsisting. This is not life, this is not liberty, this is not the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
There were just little things, so many decisions, like watching him feed his bully, that all I could think about was like what this must be doing to this child's psyche. And what is he going to grow up into? That's what I would love to see. Is just like, what does Alex grow into? What does he take away
Well,
with all
it's
this?
it's funny you mentioned the whole thing of like just like what he inevitably takes to, I guess, like be the name tags on the
Yeah,
covers, because
right.
originally in the script those were Valentine cards.
Oh.
Because if you remember, like being in grade school, like
Hmm.
February 14th would come around and it was almost like obligatory,
Yeah,
like
you had to bring him for the class.
if there,
Yeah,
yeah, like everyone got one, so it's just sort of like it's like a participation badge. If you really like someone or your friends, you would like make something special for them, but everyone else was just
sure.
gonna be like, get well soon. Or
My name,
what's
your name.
the
Happy
the
Valentine's
the
Day.
the Buffy episode with Clea Duvall where she was the invisible girl and they were looking through her yearbook and it was like
No.
have a good summer, and then Willow's like, oh, I wrote have a great summer, like that, like no, this is what you write when you just don't give a shit about this
When you have
person.
nothing to say, yeah.
And I feel like that's a missed opportunity there, because they could have very well like had this scene where he's just sort of like just showing his isolation and just being this outcast, that all he's getting from everyone is just like this like this mandatory Valentine card and then turning that around and being like, well, I'm going to use that to empower this. And, there could have
Mm,
even been an aspect of it where he was like happy about that. It's just like, okay, like I can get on board with Aunt Gladys and do this because I'm being treated so horribly by all these kids at school. Like there was so much more like access points where they could have added this nuance and texture to these characters
mm,
and they chose not to, and instead he just takes them off of the thing, and that was weird to me because it's like nobody noticed that they're like, I if I would like, okay, one time the gym I went to, like there's little cubbies to put your outdoor shoes in,
yeah.
and I had these boots and I didn't even know what they looked like at one point, so I just put them in the spot there. I remembered where I put them. But then the people who worked there like moved them because they were like cleaning and they moved everyone's shoes around. And I was like, well, how do I know which ones are mine now? But like that same mentality is just like your cubby or like something. If you went there and like the names were gone, I'd be like, wait, which is my thing? Like it just seems silly. Like just do the Valentine card. It was in the script.
Do you know why it changed?
I have no idea. I guess
Okay.
that's you'd have to listen to the commentary. I mean, I
Okay.
hope this
I'll.
gets a
Me too.
a physical
Yeah.
release because Barbarian hasn't, and I think
Oh,
that's
jeez.
that's ridiculous. Like Barbarian needs a physical release, absolutely. And I know that Zach Cregger has been trying to
Yes.
to
Yeah.
get that to happen, but I mean that's the thing. Like I don't agree with every direction, but I
Mm-hmm.
wanna I wanna have insight. I want to understand why certain things were done and why those decisions were made and like to what end and what do they benefit? Because I see with both of his movies now, I just see something where it's like we went right when we could have went left.
Mm. I mean, there's the exchange between Archer. I'm all about the microcosm, and there was this moment when Archer's confronting Justin Long's character, and I think the kid was Bailey, and
Yeah,
Sarah Paxton plays his wife, who incidentally is the wife of Zach
Zach Cregger. Yeah.
Cregger, yeah. And I remember her from the Last House remake. She was the girl who was victimized
Mm.
in that. She's a really good actor. She worked a lot back in the day. She did like Innkeepers and Shark Night and stuff. She was the in Will and Grace when Jack's son goes out for cheerleading and he's got a crush on the head cheerleader. She's the head cheerleader.
Ah.
So yeah, she's been around for a
Shark
while. I was
Night
like,
3D.
yeah, 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 fun
Yeah.
shit. I mean, that was a
Aquamarine for
yeah,
for
Aquamarine
some of
for
us, maybe.
that was a
Emma
little
Roberts, yeah.
that was a little past my time, but yeah,
Yeah.
I remember shelving it
Yeah.
in the video store. But anyway, no, but there's just something that when I think when uh, Archer first knocks on the door and she answers first, and he's just trying to be casual and not creepy,
Hmm.
but he desperately wants to see their cam footage and everything like that. But they're just kind of like doing their small talk first, and I can't remember who asks who first, but I think she asks somebody asks somebody, how you doing, and the other one says just like, well, I'm just soldiering on. We have to. And for me, I was just kind of like, while I was sitting through the end credits, uh, that reoccurred to me. I just kind of thought like, yeah, that's what everybody's doing in this movie. Everybody's just soldiering on. Everybody is just pushing forward in the dark with nothing but maybe like an inner hope that there will be relief at some point. Um, so for me, I guess that's what the movie's about, and that's why it resonates with me, and why. Again, I don't think it's perfect, and I can't wait to sit through it again just to see,
Yeah.
is it going to be just as tense for me? Because that was another thing. Just any of the dream sequences we were in absolutely worked for me. And then finally, when we were in the house, anytime we went into Alex's house, I
Hmm.
had my hands like over my face and my eyes were wide and I was just waiting for what's gonna fuck me up next. So for those reasons, I appreciated a lot of the
It's
directions that this movie
Yeah.
took.
It's interesting you mentioned the scene with Sarah Paxton because
Yeah,
I got like a completely different thing, which I actually noticed like thematically throughout this movie,
yeah.
is that sort of like it's almost like a commentary on like women as like parents or just like as like mothers or wives because that scene was just very interesting in the sense that Josh Brolin or Archer goes to her, asks her if he can get
Oh
something, and
yeah,
she says no. So he waits for the dad to come home, Justin Long, and asks him. He goes over
yeah.
the woman's head, and then the next thing we see, he's in there with Justin Long, like looking at the surveillance, and she's just standing back there like,
What the
yeah, I've been
fuck?
put in my place.
Right.
And it's just like, and nothing is said about it. And this is what I thought you were going, where you were going with like the
Oh.
microcosm, but it's just like nothing is said about it. But it's like, okay, so like women are just not treated well in this movie. Because the next thing, I mean, other than Justine and just sort of the way that she's treated throughout this, and then
Hmm.
especially with Donna, like
Hmm.
I guess like Paul's wife or fiance or whatever, and how
Whoever,
they
it's just not
yeah,
happening with her. Yeah.
but like they go after like they, she victimizes her or like like chooses
Yeah.
to retaliate against her rather than
Hmm.
Paul. And then there's the scene with Alex where he doesn't seem to have like a very warm relationship with his mother. I don't know if you noticed this. Like she's kind of like he's clearly more of a daddy's boy. Dad's the one who's picking him
Mm.
up from school. He's the one that's talking to him. Like when mom comes home, she's just like, make sure you clean your room. And he's like, okay. She's just sort of this disciplinarian to the point that when Gladys is like getting them to stab themselves in the face with forks,
Right.
he ignores the mom altogether. He goes to the dad and he tries to stop the dad from stabbing himself in the face.
Oh.
So I thought it was very interesting that the movie kind of had that attitude where it was just like women are just like not respected in the world of weapons. Did you
I
notice that?
I did not notice that in that particular instance, but it's interesting that you're bringing it up because it's making me think about one other thing in the turnaround with Paul, because here I thought he was going to be kind of like this safe space. He seemed to be the one who was
Oh
like
no.
the more sensible of the two, and he seemed to be, he's the one who's like asking for a Coke in the bar and everything like that. But then when we find out that like he got stabbed in the face with a needle. Oh no, not first, not the face first. First it was the finger
The finger
that he
thing,
got
yeah.
pricked by while he was frisking James,
Yeah.
and then he made his mistakes. But then later, later that night is when he goes to see Justine and have sex with her. There was never mention whether there was a condom. I didn't catch any mention if there was a condom or anything involved, but it's like here you're concerned about whether you have AIDS or hepatitis, and what's the first thing you do? Fuck a woman you haven't seen, who you are
Hmm.
not in a relationship with, and you don't tell her, I may have AIDS, I may have hepatitis, I may be HIV positive,
Yeah.
whatever. And you haven't seen a doctor. You got it. It's a mystery needle, fucker.
Yeah.
What?
And these are things that are like they're that should be there. It should, like not even like mentioned about, but we need to see it. We need to like understand
Mhm.
as an audience, like especially if we're going to waste all this time with a character who is meaningless in the long run of the movie, like have that mean something. The fact that like is there like some sort of residual guilt over this
Mhm.
for having hooked up with her? He seems to be more concerned about his job. By the way, did you notice the chief of police was
Oh
I got
yeah,
I got
peanut
peanut
butter on my
butter on my
penis.
penis.
Yeah.
He was also in speaking of Maxine. Maxine's getting a lot of airtime today.
Yeah,
He was
right?
the coroner. I think he had one
Yes.
scene in
Yeah.
there,
In the
but
graveyard, right?
he was great in this. I like that's the thing. It's like that
Yeah, he was great.
actor. Damn, why can't I remember his name? But he shows up in everything, and he's always like a bit part, and it's just like I always want so much more from him. Like, why can't they give him a substantial role in
Yeah.
something? Because like he was one character in the movie. Like he showed up and like, oh, like I'm interested in this guy. Like
Yeah.
he's doing a lot with very little, and
Mike
that's
Nichols, as a director, Mike Nichols used to give, a lot of actors have testified to this. he used to give the direction to them when they would be like just entering in a scene. He'd say, "Bring your day in with you," which is basically just to say you've come from somewhere, and so you've got a context from your whole day. Take it into the scene because that's what people do, and that's something that this actor, every time I see him, I'm just kind of like, "Oh, I know who you are," and I think I know where you're going, which is based off of. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I appreciated him. Another thing that the one thing that I did notice that I had a question, and you tend to pay more attention to details like this, so maybe you have an answer for me because I was like, what did I miss? I did not leave. I had to pee so bad at the end of this movie. It's over 2 hours, and oh my God,
Yeah.
I stayed for like the
Same.
first crawl when the triangle was there,
Yeah.
and that. But then when they started to go diagonally, and it was clear that like, okay, there's probably not going to be a button. I ran out and I went to the bathroom, and I didn't go
Yeah.
back into the theater to see if there was one. Do you know if there
Yeah.
was one, by the way?
I
Or
don't
was he?
think I don't think there was.
Okay.
Toby Huss, by the way, thank you,
Toby
Amethyst
Huss.
Frost. Toby
Yes.
Huss.
But
Toby Huss, peanut butter on his penis. The
but
okay, so well, I
yeah.
was just to your point, like and I mean, like I'll say this as a testament to the movie,
Yeah.
that I had to pee as well,
Yeah.
very badly. And
Yeah.
and the thing is, it's just like there were so many instances where like, do I go now? Because I feel like if I go, I'm gonna miss something. And it's
Yeah.
just like, and I feel like this movie is so contingent on me getting everything that if I miss something, it's gonna like it'll ruin the whole thing. So,
Uh-huh.
but then like scenes would go by and I'd been like, I could have peed. I could have went. I could have been went
Oh,
and come back. But that's the thing is that I was I was hooked in
yes.
for better or worse. Like I was
Hmm.
like things that were happening were interesting
Hmm.
to a sense where it's just like I didn't want to miss it because I cared enough about finding out, but
Hmm.
it was like, but at the same time I was just like, well, I mean, I wish that things would happen though. I wish that they would happen more succinctly or more fluidly
Hmm.
that to justify me like holding in my, toxic urine and potentially doing bodily harm.
Your toxic urine. It's isn't it like what's the
Is it
word? No,
cleansing?
it's
Do you
it's
just
like
like get golden showers on your face, just
no,
like it's a facial?
but it's pure. It's like it's not. It doesn't have anything to it. I
What
forget.
was
Sterile.
the
It's. I thought pee was sterile.
maybe? What was the
You can
Friends
have.
episode? Who peed on whose leg when they got stung by the jellyfish?
Oh, it was finally Chandler on Monica because she got stung by a jellyfish and there's
Yeah,
ammonia. So they remembered that there was
yeah,
ammonia in it. Joey stepped up to try and do it because Monica couldn't bend that way.
yeah.
And then he got stage fright. And so Chandler had to do it. Anyway,
And then
total
they got
detour.
married.
And then
Yeah,
they got married, even though she says at the end of that episode, because he kept trying to hit on her the whole time. And she's just like,
yeah.
listen, you're my friend. I love you. And there's no one else like you in my life. But you will always be the guy who peed on me. Anyway, but she married him anyway. So there
Yeah,
you go.
it's just it
Spoilers
just
for
goes
Friends.
it just goes to show, like you could be peeing on someone's leg one day
Well,
and married to the
I think if he
next.
just peed on her just cause, then that would have thrown a wrench in things. But because he was
Yeah,
helping. Anyway,
yeah.
how did we get here? Peeing. We had to pee.
We were
And I
talking
had a
about pee.
question for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
The one thing that I did miss, not because I peed, because, oh, and hold on, before I go into that, because I did notice there were people who got up and peed during my movie, and there were two that I
Mhm.
noticed couldn't be more antithetical. The first one left, I think, during um, Archer's Dream when
Mm.
he's like out and like seeing the house and everything like that, and they came back right in time once he like entered the house, and then they got to see the reveal, and I was like, oh, good for you, that was a good choice. Then someone else got up and went to the restroom and ended up missing everything that transpired between Paul and James, which I know to you probably would be completely inconsequential, but at the time I
Mhm.
was like, you don't even know. Oh my God, that's such a tragedy because you don't, even if somebody told you what happened, like the layers of hypocrisy and even just like social commentary that's going on here. And then at the same time, I didn't watch it thinking like, ah, like Zach, Zach, oh, what's his name? Zach Cregger
Cregger.
is an SJW. He's a social justice warrior making a statement about like, it's like, no, he's just putting something in his story that happens. So, I was just like, okay, so it was cool. It didn't feel like a big bravado, a big kind of like, I'm making a statement about, police and the way they operate. It was just kind of like, well,
Yeah.
this could happen, and here's why it might. So I liked that. But okay, question.
Sure.
It was while um it was when I think James first encountered the house, and there were things in the driveway, like blue and white things it looked like, that were just, and were they
Mm.
newspapers, or were they, now I'm wondering, were they newspapers to show that nobody was collecting the paper? But I just, or they kind of might have been like maybe like those Amazon sleeves, those packages that just kind of get, mailed and stuff like that. I couldn't tell if it was significant that the driveway was littered with these things
I don't
as
even
he was making.
remember.
Okay,
I
then
saw
maybe it
it.
wasn't
I mean, you just
significant.
saw it today. I saw it
Yeah,
on last Wednesday.
okay. Because they
So
stayed for the rest of the movie, but I didn't notice them changing, and I was like, either I missed something, or they'll figure in later because we're not linear, so maybe I'll find out like somebody ran
was
out
it
of the
maybe
house.
something? Because remember, like the kids, well, they went at the back. Because remember, like she had to like find somewhere else for them to go when the police came to
Yeah, but would they,
search the
if
house.
they dropped shit, wouldn't she have like retrieved it to
I
try
don't
and not
know.
incriminate herself? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Let's give them time to like answer in case
Yeah.
anybody does. But okay, so that was
Do
the
you?
one thing that was an
Yeah.
unanswered question for me, where I was like, did I miss something? Or maybe they are just newspapers to indicate the passage of time and the fact that nobody's picking up the
Maybe. Yeah.
newspaper. I don't know.
But I mean, she's still there. Alex is like coming and going every day. Like
Yeah.
they have to keep up appearances. And I don't know what the newspaper was for, because it was just like, what, I guess like they don't want anyone
Oh, for
looking
the
in,
windows? Yeah,
or
well,
like
she didn't
did
want anybody
she?
looking into what was going on, because if you can see them from the street, or even I guess
Yeah.
from the backyard,
Well, curtains.
um,
Curtains are sufficient. Like it looks more suspicious when there's newspaper. Sarah
but
saying,
she's
yeah,
odd.
yeah, I assumed they were papers that had collected, so so he know people hadn't been home in a while.
Okay. Because also
Um,
maybe it was a comment to show like she used the papers originally to like, cover up the house. Now she doesn't need anymore because she's papered up the house, so she's just leaving them in the driveway. I don't know. I gotta watch this movie again. What were you gonna say?
it just seems like there just wasn't, a complete thought put into the finale of the movie. Do you, you've seen Magnolia.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of it?
Um,
I mean, personally, like I love Magnolia. It's been a while since I've seen
okay.
it, but I know that there was like a lot of allusions made to this, or just comparisons, and
Oh,
Zach
really?
Cregger, yeah, Zach Cregger actually said that it was an inspiration, and I guess sort of like
What?
the,
Oh, I don't
yeah,
get
and
that.
I mean like like especially with the Paul and the what's the guy, the actor who
Oh,
plays the
John
cop,
C. Riley
John C.
in
Riley, with
Magnolia,
like
when he
the
loses his gun
mustache
and
and
everything.
yeah,
Oh,
and
no, I
all
didn't get
that.
that at all.
But yeah, that was
Because,
actually an inspiration for him. And now that I'm saying that out loud, that it's almost like he wanted this to be like an homage to Magnolia so much that we inserted this filler plot line that didn't actually mean anything. What do you make of sorry. What do you make of I guess both Paul and James getting killed at in the midst of all this, like just being victims of it for the sake of like, well, they were gonna attack them and they just unfortunately didn't get uncursed or unpossessed in
sure.
time.
I really, what I thought my note had less to do with them expiring, because, in war there's casualties, but I did think, I did have a thought about the vegetable peeler going down his face.
So gross.
Well, this is the thing. I knew it was happening slowly to try and inspire a reaction like yours, like a
Yeah.
cringy kind of,
Ooh.
because it was so slow, though. That was the maybe one time that I can identify. I can't think of a lot with this movie, but that was definitely one where I was like, okay, you know what? If somebody is choking me and I want to try and get them, granted, I want to try and break the skin, but I think it might have been even more effective if she would have just gone at him, just dun 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 dun, just like gone at the face, like you're peeling potatoes or carrots or something. Just go
Yeah. Was
because
it?
it felt like you're
She wasn't
trying to
trying hard enough.
it felt like it felt like the director was trying to twist the knife and just kind of like really get to me, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
you know how you get to me? Make her do something that feels real. It felt too
Make
slowed
her
down for the camera.
make her do a Sam Carpenter on
Yeah,
yeah.
wink or a
Um
wink, 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 like
the
Tycho.
what was it? I think it was the Evil Dead Rise with the cheese grater on the leg. Remember that?
Yeah, dude, see that
Gross.
gross but effective. I wasn't
Yeah.
outside of that. I was just kind of like, ooh, 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 we got a movie now. But
Yeah.
but also, um, you're making me think about something else that I think I just lost. Shit. Oh, we were talking about. Oh, because that was the other thing. It didn't pull me out. I actually kind of appreciate homages like this. But did you totally think The Shining when Alex's mom pounded her face through the white bathroom door while she was trying to get to him? Because I did.
Mm.
And not in a negative way.
No.
I just kind of saw her go,
I know
"Ah," and
that
I was like, okay, here's
I know
Johnny.
that The Shining was one of the inspirations,
Okay.
but I wasn't really paying attention to that at that point because it was just like everything. Here's another like the editing. Actually, speaking of Scream and Sam Carpenter,
Uh-oh.
the finale was giving me Scream 5 of just like because it was like showing like the stuff that was happening with Justine and Paul, and then it was showing the stuff that was happening with Archer and James, and then it was showing the stuff that was happening with Alex and his parents,
Right.
and it was all everything was happening at the same time, but it would like we would be with it for like a long period of time until it was like there was like a like it would mellow out. And I'm just thinking of Scream 5, how the way that they had edited it, it made it seem like Gail and Sydney in the kitchen as they took care of what's her
Right.
face, Mikey
Right,
Madison.
right.
And
Yeah.
then meanwhile, now we're gonna spend
Amber.
like 2 or 3 minutes with Sam and Richie out in the foyer, and Sydney and Gail are just kind of hanging out in there. And it's just like, oh wait, did you hear something? And then they conveniently walk out when the dust is settled and after she's stabbed him 23 times and slit his throat.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just like the ending was giving me that energy of just sort of like,
Okay.
okay, this is it's a little like all over the place, but I don't know. I don't know how much more I have to say
No,
about
I was more dialed in for that
yeah.
climax and what was going on. Obviously, I had a note, but aside from that, the resolution of it all, we'll just cap it with that.
Yeah.
Because I really singling out more performances. I mean, I just kind of feel like everybody was great. And I kept going like, oh my God, June Diane Raphael, and I didn't recognize Amy Madigan at all, and she's like one of my mom's favorite actors. So I really want my mom to see this movie. But
Okay.
also Alden Ehrenreich, loved him ever since that horrible Twilight ripoff. I think it was called Beautiful Creatures. It wasn't that horrible though. It was actually more interesting to me than Twilight, and I thought he had better
Yeah.
chemistry with his love interest in that movie than Kristen. What's her name?
I have no idea.
She's a good actress, but and Robert Pattinson, Kristen
Oh, Stewart.
Stewart.
Kristen
Thank you,
Stewart.
that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, I watched all five of those fucking movies for the Twilight thing, and I
Wow.
couldn't get into one
I
of
saw the
them.
first one, not all the way through, just parts, and I was
Oh, okay,
just like,
no,
what is
I binged them with friends
yeah.
over 2 nights,
I
and
had no idea what was going on at any point. I just remember like Cam Chagande was the villain,
right, right, right. No,
and
it
it
was
was just
just
like there was the whole the baseball game,
I
like
can't.
yeah,
Yeah, it was, and it got worse as it went on. Like we were all like, we were drinking and it wasn't helping. But
yeah.
then I saw Beautiful Creatures. I was just kind of like, oh wow, Emmy Rossum and this guy Alden Ehrenreich. He's really cute, and I like this girl. Anyway, but it never took off. It was supposed to be its own little like movie book series, but now he's in this. Um,
Well,
after
and
doing Solo, but
one thing that I'm just remembering that just sort of I guess was my takeaway
yeah,
from Weapons, which I kind of because there we have the narration at the beginning. It's like this child who's telling the story, and it comes back at the end to close out the film.
yeah,
And looking at the movie as a whole, it actually feels like because I had said that this is a very simple story that is told in a very complicated way.
sure.
And it kind of reminds me, it's like when a child is telling you a story because they're all over the place. It's like they're gonna start
Mm.
with something and then they're like, oh, but then did I tell you that like this happened and blah 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 and just going into all this detail that doesn't really matter.
Hmm.
I feel like that's me telling a story. But then kind of going like trying to find your way back to it. But then at the end of the story, it's just like they think they got to the conclusion, but there was all this important detail that they forgot to mention, and that is this movie. So it's just sort of like we're it's a simple story that probably could have
Right.
been where you could have been like, that's nice, dear. You probably could have told this to me in like 2 minutes, but you know, it's nice that you tried.
That and again, like maybe it's more my wheelhouse. I just have a question for you, and then I'll wrap my
Sure.
thoughts up as well.
Yeah.
Have you seen Lynch's Blue Velvet or Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut?
I've seen Eyes Wide Shut. Apparently, it's getting a
Okay.
4K from
Ooh, nice.
Criterion.
How did you
Uh,
feel with Eyes Wide Shut?
I have not seen it since 1999 when it came
Okay.
out.
Okay.
It's unsettling in a good way.
Okay.
That I like. So it's definitely one that I would want to watch again. Like I love Kubrick as a filmmaker. I just
Okay.
rewatched Clockwork Orange
Hmm.
this past week. So, you know, all four
Right.
Kubrick Shining, obviously one of my
Okay.
favorites. So
Because the only reason I bring them up is because Blue Velvet and Eyes Wide Shut for me always thematically had something like they are actually kind of in a lot of ways about the same thing, uh, in a very broad sense, but about kind of like touching the unknown, and that's all I'll say.
yeah.
But for me, that was the last time I think I used that phrase that I can remember, a very complicated means of telling a very simple story, and that kind of was my wheelhouse for both of them. I enjoy both of them a great deal, and I think that's probably why I am leaning more toward being in favor of this experience because I like waiting in the moods that are created, and I like getting to know the people. And I did wonder about you at the end when the 17 children, it is undeniable. There are 17 kids running after you. You're going to go down. When they go after Gladys and start tearing her apart, literally limb from limb, thusly
Mhm.
undoing, any kind of glamour or,
Yeah.
magic that she has enacted and everything like that. I'm like, okay, it makes sense to me. It's a fairy tale. I wanted to know though, because the movie went on for a few more minutes after that, and I thought, I wonder if Zach would have preferred his Giallo ending. Like, we got rid of her. We know that everybody is gonna have questions and
You have
discover
been,
bodies and stuff, but would you have just
yeah,
wanted the credits to roll after she'd been completely dismembered?
you have been watching Weapons. I might
Yeah.
have appreciated that. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think so. Maybe just like pull her apart. You know, see that the glamour has worn off, and then just like the children are standing there, all
Right.
barbaric,
So
just like covered
cool.
in blood. They're jumping through windows. They have
Yes.
no cuts on their
I
faces
don't
at
care. I was
all.
having such a good time. I was like, I will follow
It's
you through any window, wall,
sure okay.
door.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't even remember the ending of like other than them saying it took the kids years to recover,
Right.
something like
And
that.
and
Just
some of them have even started speaking again, and I think that's the last line. And I was just kind of like, oh wow. Because again,
again, it's a child telling a story.
but if at the end of a movie, like
Mhm.
that's an interesting, kind of uncommon way to end it. But if I'm reading a book, it just makes me remember the end of Carrie. Here we're talking about Carrie.
Yeah.
Makes me remember the end of Carrie, the book, where there's just a woman writing a letter about her daughter moving marbles with her mind and stuff like that, and how it's kind
Mm.
of, kind of amusing and kind of cute, whatever. And we don't know what to make of it, but probably won't be a problem. It's like, you mean like so there's the potential for someone else. So it's like now that the kids have started speaking, what is that going to open up in terms of like here we've seen people position themselves as weapons for one another's, as impediments to progress for each other, is them telling their stories because also we've watched from multiple vantage points while we've been sitting through this feature. We've experienced different levels of what people are going through is lending more takes on what went down going to help or is it going? What is it going to? Or is it going to divide us? That's what I like about the ending. So
You know what I would have appreciated, just for your sake, is that the film ends with Archer's son just like resting in bed, and then we just like hear Archer on the phone with like a friend, and he's just like, "Well, the doctors say that he's young enough that he'll probably forget all about this."
oh my God,
And
and
then
that would have
and
told me
then,
everything.
but then the kid is having like a nightmare about,
Yeah,
or I guess in this case it probably would have made more sense if it was Alex who was sleeping and his parents are like on the phone. They're like, well, he's young enough that they say he'll forget all
right,
about this,
right.
but then he has a nightmare of Aunt Gladys. Give me that.
Yes.
Give me that. I don't care if it's rip and carry off completely. Just that ending.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have. I mean, it would have undeniably told me like, okay, so obviously,
Yeah.
no one's going to shake this.
Yeah.
But I like the ambiguity or ambiguity of it.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Um, and Bozzolini is saying the parents were still catatonic too, so I don't know if that would have worked with Alex's parents. Geez, that kid was just fucked. Uh,
But I mean, the unconditional love, the fact that he just stopped them from damaging themselves and just could
yeah.
embrace them finally without fear of repercussion. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a step, you know?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the cherry picker.
It's not like we kill people on purpose.
Alrighty, we need a cherry on top. Cherry on top. Cherry on top. I mean, there's only one option for me.
I mean, we didn't really get to talk about him much, but I was really on board with Alex, and with Justine, actually. The two of them seem to be the ones that I linked up with the most in terms of like alignment, in terms of like, I'm worried about you. And so those were the two that I thought, but I know you're probably thinking someone else.
It's Aunt Gladys because I
Okay.
mean, like, how often I mean, this movie just came out and like it wasn't even, it was like Thursday night screenings and there was already
Hmm.
memes and fan art and cosplay and shit. Like it hasn't been since Gabriel from Malignant that something has kind of taken to audiences, like a character has taken to audiences, and even more so here than than Gabriel with Malignant, where something just becomes as iconic as it does overnight as it did with Aunt Gladys.
I agree with the iconography, or certainly just like the fashion. Like she is the moment, but she's undeniably the moment.
She's mother,
But as
as
far
they
as,
say.
but the thing is, she's because of what motivates her. Oh, because we didn't even really. I mean,
What
we just talked
motivates her?
about
What motivates her, you know?
just self-preservation and selfishness.
I
But
understand, but it's
yeah,
just
but
she's a
because of like what she is an emblem of, like it's weird for me because the movie affected me more than it affected you in terms of like it keyed into my empathy and watching. It was hard watching her treat Alex that way, but it is the cherry picker, cherry on top. It's your Zach cherry. So, all right,
well,
if you want to
don't
pick
I mean,
her.
okay, sure, you know, like it's like suddenly
Because I'm just
I'm
thinking in terms of her
RuPaul.
structure of the
Yeah.
movie. I'm just thinking in terms of her structure of the movie. She's such a destructive force.
I think
Ugh.
I would agree that like narratively there's a lot to be desired. This is when I said so. Yeah, she's kind of the suckiest presence there, just with everything that she does. But I mean, she's the most interesting thing about the movie. It's like, you know, like I'm not going to, yeah, you know, kill Chucky in any given Child's Play movie if he comes in and just like destroys good people's lives because he's delivering. So
Yeah, but I have a
okay.
history with Chucky. This is my first date with
Okay,
Gladys.
whatever.
But I don't know, but
You love Chucky from the moment he touched your
I
heart.
do because he's a
Yeah.
victim first.
Andy, no.
No, I mean just like, no, don't leave me, no.
Andy Caputo. Eddie,
No matter
yo.
what.
Yeah.
Like he triumphed over
Yeah.
death. So
Yeah.
anyway, but I guess that's what she was trying to do. So okay, I'm fine. Sure, Gladys. Oh, I feel so dirty.
Aren't you glad you chose Aunt Gladys?
Gladys Wayman or
Wayman.
Wyman.
Is that the name? Oh, okay, cool.
Weyman.
All right. So last week we asked you who deserves to die the most in Showgirls. I nominated Zach Cherry nominated Zach Carey, another Zach, yeah, and Edward is Truth nominated Andrew Carver. Across Patreon, Instagram, YouTube, the final vote was 134 for Zach Carey versus 348 for Andrew Carver. No
Thanks,
surprise
guys.
there whatsoever. Blue Box 87, Zach Carey. Why? Different reasons. And then we got 4 fry emojis. Not just the character alone, which, ew. But I've always found Kyle MacLachlan to be extremely creepy outside any David Lynch project. He does creepy well.
He does, but I
He
don't
does
always
creepy
find him
well.
creepy.
No, it's a bit of an exaggeration, Blue Box, but I mean,
Watch Twin
it's
Peaks
kind of.
again.
But that's David Lynch. That's
Oh,
inside.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Here I'm.
Yeah.
Sex in the City. I mean, he's kind of
Well,
creepy
isn't he
in
kind of
that.
creepy? Like, he's even creepy in Desperate Housewives.
I still haven't even seen that.
Oh,
I
I just did
know.
a rewatch last year. Bruno Salata, OMG, my favorite movie. The only reason I won't pick Kyle MacLachlan is because he is Kyle MacLachlan, because his character is a piece of shit. And also, long-haired guy did what he did to Molly, so hard to compete with that. David Garrido, in the words of Randy from Scream 2, Showgirls, absolutely frightening. Molly Lolly says, Andrew, is this even a question?
Right.
He had someone beaten and then graped them.
You're right. So it doesn't get pulled off of YouTube.
No, they graped.
Yeah, I know.
Grape.
That's
Yeah.
why my sister calls it that in movies.
Jazzy Boo. They both suck, but Andrew is by far the biggest asshole. Zero fucks. I get zero fucks given, but without any. Well, there's vowels in there. Anyway, you don't know shit. And then
Oh, oh, you don't know
fingernail
shit.
painty.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But it's like Chucky. Chucky is as
I know.
Nomi.
I know it ain't dancing, Chucky.
John Carlos McMaster. Andrew
Hey.
Carver, because pause. Duh.
Yeah. Thank you, John Carlos.
Grant Dempsey, Andrew Carver, for the reason at John Carlos McMaster already gave. But let's not underestimate the harm caused by Zach Carey, who
Yeah.
not only protects Carver, but probably also protects multiple other celebrities, high rollers, etc., who abuse women at the Stardust. I feel like I'm not doing a good Chucky today. It's just I'm kind of off.
It's just been a while. But
It's
no,
it's
I
he's just been sleeping.
he's just been sleeping, honey. But
Yeah.
but mother has something she wants you to do. But I did want to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Neither of us chose like Andrew Carver's like a clear choice, but like he's not the only assaulter. Like his bodyguards are
Well,
in on it too.
I mean, J. Will, 1995. This is the next comment.
Oh,
Andrew and his bodyguards.
right.
But I'm just gonna stop because it's not happening for me today. This
Try
is
to
the
do
first
another one.
this is the first podcast that like anyone's listened to. Like, this guy thinks he can do Chucky. I promise it's better.
It sounds fine to me, but
Yeah.
okay.
But I mean, by the cherry picker rules, it can't be a group. It's just got to be one.
That's true.
Remember,
That's true.
yeah,
But
you can't pick multiple. I mean, I guess you could have picked Andrew, because you had first dibs, and I could have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
like
yeah.
bodyguard number one. Like,
Right.
but that's boring.
Well, also
That's
because
boring.
they don't pay any price. Like Andrew Carver
And
at least gets the shit kicked out
and
of him.
as you always say, Zach Carey. I mean, you don't always say Zach Carey, but Zach Carey, Edward always says
Oh,
first domino.
right. Opens
So
the door
yeah,
for
he
Andrew
enabled it.
Carver.
Yeah. Tajon, Andrew Carver, for sure. It was not necessary for him to take advantage of Molly, but what was necessary was the the ass
Yes.
kicking
Yeah,
he
that.
received from Naomi. Who the fuck is Naomi? Do you ever like,
Know me.
yeah,
Know
know
me.
me, know me. You don't
It's like
know me.
it's her beckon. It's her siren
Yeah,
call. It's like, know
know
me.
me.
That's what she wants,
Know me.
everybody.
Or like, you don't know.
Yes.
But her attitude is more like, you don't know
You don't know
me.
me.
Different places.
Yeah,
Um, do
right.
you, I wonder if like people named Naomi like go by Nay.
I've known Naomi's
Hey,
and I've never,
Nay.
hey,
Ask them.
Nay.
Yeah. Anyone who's a Naomi,
Hey,
please
Mimi.
comment.
I'd sooner call a
Yeah.
Naomi Mimi as a term of
Mimi.
endearment.
Mimi.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, Mimi.
Uh, and finally, Silent Saturn, Kyle MacLachlan in this movie is the reason I'm gay. You're gay? I I had no idea.
So am I, Zach.
He's obviously a despicable character, but covering essay is
Covering
not quite as
essay.
bad as committing it. If we have to weigh in, Andrew gets my vote. What a sadistic POS. Molly would have probably been down for a night of consensual fun if he played his cards right. But clearly, that's not enough for him. He can't die enough. I don't know where I'm going with this. Though,
It's the most consistent you've been with
let's
a British
not
accent.
let's not forget equally abhorrent bodyguards who
Oh.
get off without any punishment. Nomi should have called them in one by one and give them the same treatment as Andrew, but I guess she didn't know about them. Shame.
Oh, I guess. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because yeah, she didn't get to talk to Molly about it either.
yeah.
Oh, you know what? That's the sequel. Molly comes back and goes like, the bodyguards were in on it too. No, I mean, she has to fly back and
Oh,
kick the shit
jeez.
out of the
I want
bodyguards.
her to like do like a Drusilla from Buffy. Like she should have like taken out her nails and just like sliced
Oh,
their
just.
throat. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that glide out of her shot when she's stomping out Andrew Carver's face, where she just,
Yeah.
you don't, you motherfucker, fuck, and it's just glides out with
It's
this weird,
amazing. Yeah.
I'm orbiting myself kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah.
So
She's a
is that
creep.
it?
Um that's it. Yeah. So
Okay.
so you got first dibbies here.
Okay, well, I can't choose the cherry on top, even though I
So that's
want
why you were
to.
so against it.
Well, yeah,
You're
because oh my
ruining
God,
your plans.
she is so abusive. Like that's the thing, is that that it's not
Well, she's off the
just
table. You can't talk shit about our
no, no,
cherry
no, no,
on
no, no.
top.
But I no, but I'm just because the pod's still going. It's more than just like the fact that she's like trashing people's lives and their bodies and their minds, but it's
Yeah.
just the willingness to trash a conscious child's mind and manipulate them that really made her next tier villain for me. I was just kind of like, you know what? I appreciate the memery of it all, but I think you've earned it because you're kind of horrid. So, I mean, yeah, like she's a real villain. I appreciate that. I also appreciate her old timiness, the fact that the best she could come up with for the sickness for the parents was that they have a touch of consumption. I was like, where are you from? What time? Well, you're older than dirt, I can tell, because TB ain't been a big old thing in a while. Not something
Mm,
that people are going to go like, oh, well, I better keep my mouth shut then. It's only going to make
mm.
more questions. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, got touch of consumption. I'm sorry if anybody has consumption. Okay. It's just funny. Um, okay, I'm picking Paul because I thought I could trust you, fucker. I thought you were good, Paul. But you're bad. I thought that you were on the straight and narrow and that you were doing your best, and then I see that your best sucks. And you got June Diane Raphael as Donna, and I don't even know if I can trust that it's not really happening there. I don't know what that means now. Does that mean that you're just not into it? Because she seems totally into you. And then you get poked with a needle, you hit someone, you turn off your camera, you put whatever little chemicals on it, but you don't know if you've got a communicable disease, and then you fuck someone you know from your past when you shouldn't, and you don't even tell her about like the duress, like the threat of her to her health and everything. Like, we don't know if she's okay, and then you go off and it happens again because you're chasing the guy in the woods, and you really, I think I wanted that veggie peeler not to just glide down his face. I think that's what I wanted, was as much damage done to him as possible, like in the back of my mind. I wasn't sitting there consciously rooting for it to go on, but I wouldn't have minded a little bit more damage done to him, because he's just bad news across the board. Like, just bad cop, bad boyfriend, husband, bad, just, and all under the guise, like, I know he thinks he's a nice guy. And that bothers me the most. So there you go. How about you,
Yeah.
Zach?
I I would like to. I mean, my first instinct was James, just because it's like, what is this nonsense storyline? But I'm just like, I'm remembering
Yeah.
gas station clerk, because
Oh,
like
that guy.
she's
Yeah.
like attacked in the store, and he's like, get out of here, and she's like, oh my God, like call, like what did she like, call the police, like
So like, help me. You didn't
Yeah.
even help me. Something like that. Yeah.
So fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Yeah,
Enough
100%.
said. Enough said. So there's you're gonna win this, but I just wanted to throw that guy out there too.
I'm glad you didn't nominate James. I actually kind of felt bad for James because, he's an addict and it's a disease. So, he's just doing his best.
No, it's gas station clerk. So
It's
anyway,
gas station guy. Yeah.
there are your options. You can vote for gas station clerk, or you can vote for gas station clerk. Now those are those options are going to be available first and foremost on Patreon. If you head over there, the poll is free for everybody, so you don't actually have to be supporting. But if you head over there, just follow as a free member, and if you choose to in the future, you can upgrade at any time. We would very much appreciate it. You can also vote on Instagram. Follow us at the Cherry Picker Pod and vote there. And also on YouTube. So if you are listening, head over to YouTube, subscribe. It's going to be in the post section every week. And if you are watching on YouTube and you're already subscribed or whatever, just head down into the RSS feed link below in the descriptions, and you can listen to it if that is your
Yeah.
preferred consumption of the podcast. Edward, where can they find you on social media?
Instagram, Letterboxd, old videos on YouTube. Edward is Truth, traditional spelling, no spaces. Zach, how about you?
And I am on YouTube, Zack Cherry, ZACK space CHERRY. Instagram, retro bitch face, all one word. Also Letterboxd with that. And then Twitter, Zack Cherry 8. Zack Cherry 8. We already know what's happening next week. That is our Patreon's choice, and that is the top 10 years of horror. So that'll be an exciting one. But
Maybe we'll zigzag. You do one, I do one, you do one, I do one.
I mean, or we can just like communicate with one another with actual words, not GIFs. I know it's so hard for you. I'll send him a message, like a thoughtful like question or whatever. I'll get a GIF, and then he'll ask me something, and then if I want to be lazy about it, I get the third degree.
It's not about being lazy. It's about like I had a fanciful, like whimsical question, and you just didn't want to play. So I'm like, well,
Well,
fine.
it's true that it does take a lot of work to find the perfect GIF response. I'll give you that.
And I do find them. I don't send a GIF until I know that it's right.
It's true. It's true. Anyway, thank you for everyone who's here, Patreon members that are in the chat with us as we record this live. For anyone watching or listening after the fact, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'm just repeating myself here. And we
Thank
will
you
be
for being a friend.
that too.
Travel down the road.
Back again.
Your heart is true. We're gonna
You're a
get flagged.
pal and a confidant.
Confidant.
Boom, boom. And
And
if you threw a party and invited everyone you knew,
everyone you knew, you would say the biggest gift
the
would
greatest
be from
gift
me.
would be,
Yeah.
and the
And the card
attached
attached would say, thank you for being a friend. A friend. You are my friend.
Be back next week.